We're live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. First off, sorry about last week. I scheduled this to be a stream for last week and then wasn't actually able to make it. Also, it's like an hour late today, so kind of a bit of a lesson learned in terms of like pre-scheduling these streams, and really not to do it if I don't know for sure that I'm going to be able to make it. So anyway, there's a good bit of questions that were previously asked on the post that I put up. So I'll probably start just by going through those, and then we can jump into the chat questions as well if there's any of those. I don't have much of a plan for this stream other than just answering those kind of questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and post them into the chat here and we'll get going. So let's drop this. Cool. Maybe that's good. So we could start from the bottom. These would have been first, I believe. So in Flutter, how can we get a list of months between two given dates? Example, between this date and this date, expected output. It seems like you could just do a loop. Like you could just do a loop. If you know this two dates specifically, you can probably just do a loop between the start date and the end date and use like the Flutter date time objects that are kind of already built in with Dart, and then loop through those and basically increase by 1 day each time. I would look into like the Flutter date time. Let's see if there's a good example here. Yeah, I would look into the Flutter datetime class. So here is that. And then look into how you can loop that and use like date plus 1 day or something like that. All right. This is saying I need an app idea which generates me revenue through Admob. Can you help? Yes, I can help. That is the entire goal of this channel. So go back to episode 1 and just watch all of them. I mean, yeah, joking a little bit in that sense, but that's the goal for sure of this channel. I mean, Admob is one way to make money, but really the core of this in terms of like the idea you need, if you want to just generate money through Admob, you need a lot of people using your app. So figure out something that people are going to essentially get like addicted to. Those are the ones that do the best with ads. I mean, Instagram, Facebook, the social media apps, people are like hooked on them because there's something always to go back to. So it's not like you open the app once, you use it a little bit, and then you're done with it. There's always something that keeps you wanting to go on it more. So make an app like that and you'll be able to put a bunch of ads on it. Games I think are really good for ad monetization. Like having an app that has a game is something that people will continue to go back to because there'll be multiple levels, and then there'll be, it's fun. So there's something for them to be engaged with. Yeah, so those would be, I guess, my main recommendations there. And potentially actually I'll look into doing a game app, like probably not with Flutter, but maybe I'll do that as like the next project. Let's see. Do we have any video showing the display count, like how many past trips, how many future trips, without making a list per trip? This one, okay, I did already respond to this one. It's not, I don't actually have this where you can count like where you can get a count of the documents from Firestore, but I do have this other video where it shows you how to use a where clause, which is kind of like step 1 to getting that, you can get the documents, and then you can just call the size of the return snapshot, and that should get you the count of those documents. So let's see. Let's check the chat real quick. Cool. A lot of hellos. Welcome everyone. Just made the best app in the world and make billions. Nice idea, right? Yeah, exactly. Just make the best app and you're good. It's so easy and so hard, you know? It's like conceptually easy enough to just make an app. A lot of it comes down to marketing, and a lot of it comes down to design, I guess, as well. But yeah, it's doable, I guess. It's like achievable. It's like right there. Anyone can do it, but it isn't like an overnight success. You're not just going to be able to throw an app up and then have millions of dollars. So after downloading the application in Play Store, Google sent an email. There needs to be done before a certain date, otherwise my application will be removed from the store. Short text of letter, hostname verify your app. You're using unsafe implementation of hostname verifier interface. I'm not sure about this. I have not gotten that email personally, so I can look into it and get back to you. In terms of if that is something that's probably changed, or maybe it's something with the deploy. I mean, hostname verifier makes it seem like you might have something incorrectly configured. The hostname, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll put it on my list. Look into hostname. All right. How can I compress a PDF file before uploading to Firebase? The extension of the file should remain PDF. Also, how can I get thumbnail for that PDF without opening it? Off the top of my head, I do not know the answer to this. The PDF compressing, I mean, there might be a package where you can compress like Flutter compressing files. I don't know. Maybe check out this Flutter image compress. My guess is you need to have the file compressed on the device before you upload it, or that's probably one option, which maybe this package is going to do. Another option is you could possibly have a cloud what do they call them? The cloud functions. And those, let's see if we can get an example of something in here. I know these cloud functions in Firebase, there are, what do they call them? Again, this is not something I've done. Maybe it's the extensions. There's something where they have like these pre-built things. Yeah, right here. So resizing image might be one thing to look into. I don't know if resizing image will work with PDFs, but definitely a decent place to start. These kind of extensions, I believe, are kind of like pre-built things that you can just drop into your app, which is pretty cool. I haven't really actually used any of them, but it's something I've been looking into potentially using. Like translate text, for instance, like you can just use Google Translate in your app and just kind of like drop in this extension, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I'd look into that, as well as if there's a Firebase package, or not a Firebase package, but a Flutter package that maybe can compress that image for you before you upload it. Can you please talk about super key syntax And when do I need that? Yeah, this is a good question. I know in my code I have this syntax at the top of some of the view controllers, or I guess they're not even called controller, like at the top of some of the view widgets, right? So really the key probably, I mean, in some cases it might not be needed, but it is needed if you want to hold the state of a widget from one spot to another. So kind of what it means is if you have a widget that the state can change and then something else can happen on that page where potentially the whole page can get rebuilt, if you don't use the keys, then that whole page will get rebuilt, but the state that was changed in that initial widget might get lost. But if you use a key, then it can hold that state while the whole page gets rebuilt. And I'm sure there's actually a better explanation of this. Flutter keys. Yeah, probably this video. This might be a better explanation. This is like from Google itself, or from their Flutter team there. So maybe check that out. But yeah, I guess the short answer is if you're doing something where your state isn't holding, you might need to use a key, but typically I think you don't actually need them that much. Let's check in on the chat here. Form binding is possible in Flutter. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you mean by form binding. So after some time, add limit placed in my apps, or now what should I do? So, your ad limits, I'm guessing your ad limits are your ad limits. I don't know what you mean really by this. Do you mean like your ads aren't showing anymore? Don't do anything wrong according to Admob policies. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that goes generally for the policies of any piece of software you're using open source, because there's a reason they have those policies there, and I guess part of it is so that they can kind of decide if they want to, I think part of it is that they can decide if they want to, take your app off or stop letting you use their service. But yeah, you have to follow the Admob policies for sure. But also you have to follow the App Store policies and the policies that Google has, and even like general policies on like email. Like you can't send marketing emails to certain people, or like unsolicited emails without like unsubscribes. There's a lot of like policies that you might not necessarily, I guess, think about or think that are technically legal. I don't know. I don't know like the full legal aspects of it, but yeah, maybe I'll do a video about some of the policies that we need to be following as like app developers. My Admob CTR is pretty low, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty low. Does it tell you just easily? I mean, it tells you your eCMP or CPM. I don't know. I'd have to like dig into the analytics of that, but I don't think it's that great. Cool. So this is kind of like a thread going then. So you're getting blocked, and then yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. I'll take a month. It'll take a month after that to do anything wrong action. Yeah. So it seems your Admob account is blocked. I know for mine, is it that it's blocked, or is it that you just released your app and you're not yet getting ads served on the app itself? Because there is a time period between like deploying your app and then actually getting ads on it, and that time period has increased a good bit in my experience. Like years ago, when you would deploy an app, it would be like almost like 2 days later you'd be fine. But this time when I deployed this travel treasure app, it took like almost a month to get the ads working. Yeah, which is basically what's being said right here. Yes, how to lower app size in Flutter? That's a good question. There are ways you can compress the app itself, so you can actually just compress the app size. And part of that, I think, is in their documentation, like their deploy documentation talks about basically compressing the app itself. I don't think I did that when I did the tutorials for that, but check out that documentation. That's like maybe one easy win. Another like obvious one is just not to have code that you don't need. So like if you have extra code that's written and you don't need it and you remove it, it should decrease the app size for you. I believe also with like images and stuff, like those are obviously more expensive in terms of size. So possibly if you can, or if you're not already, like if you're not already compressing your images themselves, you could look into doing that and maybe use slightly lower quality images. Also, if your app is always going to be like an online app, you could look into not even having the images on in the app build itself and have them somewhere external like Firebase storage. So we need a quiz app with leaderboard with rank in class and whole school. Cool. How far have you gotten in building that? I mean, it doesn't seem extremely complex. I think you should be able to do that. Not too hard. I mean, the quiz part itself is one piece, and then basically you just get a score for each person and then make another view that can, show those as a leaderboard. Yeah, ads were showing. So ads were showing 15 days, and after that, limits are placed, and then that I didn't access my Admob account. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're not getting like any error or any email from Admob or any warning in your Admob console that says like this thing is configured wrong or you need to add this other thing. I'm not sure. Like billing, you need to make sure your Google billing is set up and all that stuff. Not sure. But that's definitely horrible. Like when you get your app live and then you kind of like out of your control, something is like pulled off, or out of your control, like Google is not running ads on your app. Now, another part of it is potentially like your app itself is not suitable for ads. I don't know. Depends on the type of app you have and what your app is. Also, if you went in and clicked a lot of your own ads, that is like a big red flag for Google. So yeah, I would definitely go and read through the Admob like policies and then make sure you're following everything there, because you might just be breaking one of their policies and then that's why. But yeah. Let's see, back on these questions then. maybe a video of GitHub workflows with Flutter and Android Studio. Yeah. GitHub workflows are for sure a very powerful like potential tool to use. I haven't actually used them that much, but I haven't used them at all with Flutter. So yeah, I'll look into that. I wonder if there's anything specifically in terms of a GitHub workflow that you would be interested in. Like, is it some sort of like continuous integration thing where you want to actually be deploying your app when you merge it to a certain branch, or which I don't know how easy that would be, but that's actually something that could be worth looking into, like how to make your app almost auto deploy when you put it at a certain spot. Although I feel like I feel like it's possible to like automate a lot of the the deploy stuff for both iOS and Android, but it also seems like so specifically manual in some regards. But maybe you can get the app like up there, and then you just need to go into the console and click through a couple things. But yeah, I'll look into it. If there's like something specific you would like to see in terms of a GitHub workflow, maybe let me know. And I'll look. Probably said, yeah, basically the same thing. All right, last one on this form of comments. So, can you upload a video on how to do custom sign-in with Firebase or anything of that sort, where I can let only authorized people log into my app, or maybe manually add users? Yeah. So Firebase auth, I feel like I've covered pretty well. I'll get you the playlist link.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back.
There we go. There's the video. Yeah. This is I feel like it's maybe not the easiest to find stuff maybe on the channel, or it's not that organized, because this isn't the only type of question like this. So maybe I need to get better at that. If people have ideas of how maybe I could get better at that, let me know. But let's jump on over to just this chat then. And let's see, I guess we're pretty much caught up here. So should I create a new Admob account? I don't know. It's maybe, yeah, it's, I don't know. Look into that first. Like, look into if that is actually, I almost feel like Google, that's like also part of the policy, is like not to just create a new account. But yeah, it's worth a try, I guess. It's worth a try to just create a new account and then link your app to that. But at the same time, if your app is getting demonetized because of some other thing that you're breaking, some other rule you're breaking in Google Admob, then creating a new account is just the same thing is gonna happen. So I'd try to fix the real problem first, and then if that doesn't work, then maybe create a new account with that problem being fixed. And then also, I mean, you can try and contact Google, but that's probably going to be a nightmare, I would imagine. Let's see. How much do you earn as a Flutter developer? Flutter development is more of like a side project, or I really only do it for like my apps. So I'll earn as much as the app makes, which at this point is not that much, but the app is very new, and it doesn't even have the feature set really that. I don't know that it's even an MVP yet. I mean, you could argue that it is, but I don't know. I still haven't started marketing it yet because I don't think it's ready. But once the marketing side of it starts, then the money side will potentially start rolling in. How upload multiple users from Google Sheets to Firebase? Users need a video. I'm not sure what you mean fully on this, but do you mean the users that you're uploading are linked to a video, or you want me to make a video about how to do this? I don't know if there is actually a way to easily do that, to upload multiple users to Firebase. Like, you can definitely add a user manually. Are you trying to add users manually, or you're trying to let your users create multiple accounts? Let's see. Yeah, that's an option for sure. The Firebase real-time database emulator having trouble with a function. I have not. I don't know. Is the Firebase real-time emulator, is that... I guess I haven't used that because I don't really know what it is. I don't use the Firebase real-time database. I use Firestore, so a lot of that might be the disconnect there. I'm not sure. Maybe this kind of works for Firestore as well. Is web development a good career? It depends. I mean, it depends on if you enjoy writing code, enjoy building websites. A good career in what aspect? I mean, will it pay well? Most likely, yeah. Will it? I don't know, but pay isn't everything. If you're getting paid a lot and you hate your job, then it's not a good career for you. Can you please make a video on how to add a guiding screen which tells the users about different features of the app? Yes, definitely. This is something I definitely need to add to my app, so I'll definitely be making that. So yes, I can make a video about that. It's kind of like as I've been doing these review videos, it's something that I've noticed a lot more that is like crucial. Like, it's a shame because it's like kind of a throwaway feature. Like the user is only ever really going to see it once, and then they log in and they're never going to use it or see it again. But that onboarding experience or feature is so crucial in getting the user to actually sign up. So that's definitely, that's something I've noticed for sure when doing these review apps. When the app, which my app kind of does this as well, immediately is just like log in and you don't even know what the app is definitely not a good user experience because most people are just not going to log in. In this day and age where there are a billion apps out there, how would you go about getting users for your app? Yeah, this is definitely something I plan to talk a lot more in depth about. But generally, a couple quick ways that you can get some users is like sharing it. Obviously, like share your app on all your social medias and share it with all of your like friends, and then all of your all of your circles, share it with them first, because those people will realistically be like your first users. And then from there, you'll need to do some sort of marketing or some sort of way to get it in front of people, which There's some free ways to do things. Like, I mean, you can post it on Reddit. There's like certain Reddit threads that you can use, and you can post it on. There's like other forms you can use as well, like Facebook, obviously Facebook groups. But yeah, then you need like a marketing strategy in terms of like how you can get people that you don't know to find your app. And a lot of those are actually going to be paid. So you also need to be considering like how much money your app can make per user. And then if you know that number, then you know how much you can spend to acquire a user. So for instance, if you have an app with an in-app purchase of 99 cents and every user has to pay for that 99 cents, and this is obviously a simplified example, then you know that any real user you get is going to bring in 99 cents of revenue, and then 30% of that goes to Apple. So you really get like 70 cents. And then, well, actually now it's actually like 15% now goes to Apple if you're a smaller developer, which is pretty cool. And then that remaining money, you can say, you can spend however much percentage of that you want to acquire the user, and then the rest of that is going to be your profit. But I can break that down more in depth. I mean, the short answer, I guess, to how to get users is to build a really good app that people are going to want to share, and then get some people using it, and then get them sharing it, and then it'll just like grow from there. But it's definitely not that easy. It's not that easy of a thing to do. In a lot of ways, it's harder than the development of the app. Especially if you're a developer and not a marketing person. But that is also like the main goal of this channel, is to get developers like myself to be able to do that marketing side of things and really get apps to be popular. So we're just beginning that journey now. I feel like now that we have something that we can almost market, get to a place where we can market it, and then keep going. Let's see. Where were we? Right here, maybe? Yeah, if you're a beginner, I guess that's gone. Or maybe I double clicked it and made it gone. No idea. All right, use Rive in Flutter apps. Yeah, that's all. I don't know if you're talking back on you're uploading multiple users with a Google Sheet, but maybe that's different. You're using Rive. I don't know. Yeah, you have multiple users then, so you have to add multiple users. You can add the users in Firebase, but you have to just type in their email and password. I mean, you can probably write some sort of like. I mean, first off, I would Google search it. I've never had this issue, so it's never been something I don't know the answer to this because it's never been a problem for me. So I've never like looked into it, but I don't know if Firebase authentication can let you upload a mass amount of users. It seemed like this comment was making it seem like you could. Or maybe what they're saying is you kind of write like a little script that has all your users, and then you can just loop through it and create a new user with a Firebase function. I mean, that seems like the easiest way to do it for me, if Firebase doesn't already have that option. Because to create the user with the email and password is pretty easy. It's like a one-line method that you just say like, Firebase instance.create user, and then pass it the email and password, and then so you can just do that and then run all those emails and names and stuff through some sort of loop that creates all those users. That's probably what I would do. Firestore doesn't have cloud functions, right? No, that's incorrect. I don't know. actually, now that you mention it. You can use Cloud Functions. Let me look. You can definitely use Cloud Functions, but if you're asking if Cloud Functions can link into your Firestore data, which is a good point. I'd be surprised if they didn't. Yeah, I would be surprised if they did not, but are Cloud Functions only for the real-time Firebase database? I don't think so. I think they're kind of like generically outside of it. But again, I have not used that feature of Firebase either, so I can look into it more. I think the Cloud Functions actually have a good potential to speed up your app in a lot of ways, but I mean potentially like speed up some stuff of your app that you can offload to a Cloud Function when it's not important for the user to have that in your app. So for instance, with my app, if I were to do some sort of like calculation behind the scenes of like what an average trip cost should be based on what users are inputting for what their trips are, that I would move to a Cloud Function where it's not actually directly relevant to that individual user. So I'd move it off to the Cloud Function. But I have not, I've used Cloud Functions a little bit, but it was more with like Firebase Web and not directly connecting it to Firestore. So maybe you can't, but I feel like you should be able to. How can I manage text form field controller in list view builder? I mean, I don't know exactly what you mean by this. So it's hard to say. I have a few videos talking about the text form field controller and like managing state within them. Probably the videos where it's like the multi-page form. But I don't know. I guess that's not really in a list view builder. Like, do you have a list of text inputs? And if so, yeah, I don't know. If so, I think you could still just put the text form field controller. I mean, is the list like an arbitrary length? Maybe that's your issue, that you don't have a text form field controller for each list item. In which case, you probably have to just create that instance within the list builder itself, which is maybe gets a bit messy. I'm having a problem moving on from tutorials and guides. I want to start making my own Android apps, but I don't know where to start after finishing Code Academy, etc. Yeah, I don't think there's really a problem with having tutorials and guides and using them to build your project. So my guess is you've been following these tutorials and you haven't been building your individual project. You've just been building the project in the tutorial, which is fine in the beginning, but really the best way to move on from that is to come up with an idea of your own app that you want to make. And it doesn't even need to be the app that you're, really, really excited about. Like maybe you have an app idea that's like out of your reach, which I would argue just go for that one anyway, but in a simpler version. So that's, I don't know, does that make sense? Like you should take that app. Okay, cool. Exactly. Yeah. So you take that app idea then, even if it seems out of your reach, and then simplify it down to like its base feature. So this is essentially what I'm doing with this travel treasury app. Like what it is now, what's deployed right now, is like its base feature. Its base feature is that you can just track how much money you plan to save. But the like main goal for it, like the stretch goal for it, is to have something like way more predictive of what you should be spending. But that's like out of my initial reach to do in a timely manner for the first version. But you start with that like main smaller thing and figure out how to build that. And maybe that means going and watching a few tutorials that are doing something kind of similar, but then modify what they're doing into what you need done, and don't build exactly what they do. And that's generally the best way to, I think, approach building a new app. I mean, as I've been saying in this chat as well, there's like multiple things that I don't know how to do because they haven't been issues in the app that I'm building. So like I haven't used cloud functions because I haven't needed to, or maybe there are places I could have used them and it would make things better, but I've found other ways to solve that problem without them, so I don't know much about them. But yeah, I guess that's generally the approach I take. Can you make a school app that have students, teachers, admins, and the students have to see their attendance marks and timetable? Teachers have to mark students, and admins have to add users. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible if that's what you're asking. If you're asking if I'll be making it and doing videos about it, likely not. And only because it doesn't really fit into the app I'm building. So really what you're talking about is having essentially a following, like having followers and like that kind of relationship. So if you go and find some sort of guide or tutorial on how to do like followers, or like how Facebook following works or like Instagram following works, like that concept of the followers and that relationship between two different users is what you're generally after. And then you're just going to be doing it with students and teachers, and students will have the ability to have certain associations to teacher objects, and then vice versa, and there'll be like different permissions within them, but that is where I would start with that. If I do end up making some sort of social media type app, I mean, maybe that will come later, like having some sort of social media type app where you can like follow people. I mean, now that I'm talking about it, like following and having groups like that specifically is something that might fit into my app. So maybe I will be able to make something that is useful for your situation as well. Which state management you use for Flutter? Generally, well, I use like a provider. So I have like the provider is generally it, I guess. It's like provider and then set state. So I don't know if that, like, I don't really use any of those like more, those more like I don't use like Riverpod, or I don't use Block or any of those other state management systems. I mean, I feel like as my app though grows and there's more involved in it, then it might be worth looking into using some more complex, or using some other state management. But really, I think provider and just using like set state is pretty great. I don't really have too many issues with it, so I think it's a good place to start as well. On creating the users, create default fields for that user. Yeah, I think this is probably relating back up to the discussion of creating multiple users, and that makes sense. Let's see, here's the second question. Thanks for answering the first one, by the way, but what inspires you to create content considering this is not a really niche topic like tech reviews, for example. I would say this is more niche than tech reviews. Is that what you mean? Because way less people want to see Flutter videos or like how to build an app videos. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. What inspires me to create the content? I mean, to me, part of it is a good way to learn. Initially, that was a big part of it. Like when I started this, I did not know any Flutter at all, and so like this was kind of like me learning Flutter, and then if you're able to like explain something, if you're able to explain something well enough that someone else can understand it, then that means you understand it enough. Like that means you understand it enough to use it and be comfortable with it. So that's part of it for sure. I've also gotten a lot of like I've learned programming essentially from like YouTube tutorials and like other people doing similar things like this. So it's kind of a way, I don't know, if I'm able to make a couple videos that then let other people learn stuff and make stuff, that's pretty rewarding. But yeah, I don't know. Generally just to yeah, I don't know. You kind of have me a bit stumped, to be honest. Like, I do enjoy making the videos as well. So there's that aspect of it. But and then the question kind of really comes down to like, do I enjoy the YouTube stuff better or do I enjoy the app building better? And I'm not sure on that answer. But they do kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, I mean, for the time being, I still plan to continue making more videos. Please reply fast as possible. Yeah. Use that code to build the app you want. I don't know what you mean there. Yeah, okay, this is back to the tutorial, like being in the tutorial guide. So we have a few really good ideas, but it's way above my head at the moment. The tutorials are crazy helpful too. Thank you. I'll start small and work up. Yeah. That's really all you can do. And it's really all any businesses and larger companies do. Like, you can't expect to have, like, even comparing your app or like your idea to an app like Instagram or TikTok or any of these like really popular apps right now. Like, go look at Instagram version 1. Go look at what they deployed for the first version. And you can't be comparing what your brand new app is to these apps that are like way more mature and have, hundreds of developers, if not thousands of developers, and have been like iterating and iterating and iterating. So yeah, start small and just get something out there. Date time picker only, pick date. I don't know what you mean, but I do have a video of a date time picker where you can pick multiple dates. Maybe that's what you mean. Let's see if I can find the link. Yeah, here we go. There's that. The student attendance app are easy. You can use Firebase security rules to define teacher and student roles. Yeah, they're easy enough. I mean, it's not trivial. There is a bit of complexity to it. So it's not like an obvious solution, but it's definitely doable. It's definitely very doable. And I think there's probably a good bit of documentation on how you can do it as well, if you just look in the right spots. What do you think of using SQLite and Flutter apps? Is there a better way of storing data locally? That's a good question. This again comes back to like, I don't have much experience in this because it hasn't been an issue for me. I don't like the idea of storing the data locally on the device. I mean, it depends on the app you're trying to build, but if you're storing the data on the device, the biggest limit for that is you're never going to be able to move that app to some sort of like connected user experience, meaning like users aren't going to be able to ever really talk to each other or like follow each other or share each other's information because it's only going to be on their device. So again, with this travel app, my larger goal is to have like with this travel app, like the point it is right now, this could for sure be stored on your device because there's nothing that you're sharing information with another user. But the longer term goal is to have it so that you can, follow other people's trips or be on a trip with multiple people and have like more connection or interaction. And to do that, you need an external database. So I would consider strongly what it is that you're building and make sure that that local storage is actually the right solution. Yeah, that's the main thing. I don't know. I mean, SQLite I think is like a fine option though. I'm not sure what the standards are in Flutter, but that sounds fine. I mean, that sounds like it would work. If you can get it to work and it works for you, then I think that's like the biggest thing. Explain to you like you're 5. When should I use Dispose in Flutter? It's one thing I feel I never know about, but I don't know how to apply it. Yeah, so Dispose I think is just mainly as kind of like I should look more into this before I even explain because I don't have like a very solid understanding of this, but Dispose is basically going to like clean up your widget tree, or it's going to clean up the widgets that you had loaded that you no longer need. But let me go ahead and put that on the list and do a bit more research on that because that's a good point. Or it'd be good to fully know. When will machine learning and Flutter come to your channel? Soon, hopefully. Hopefully sometime this year. Yeah, when will the Project Mind app be built? That is a good question. Go over to projectmind.guru and sign up for the waiting list. Project Mind app is likely not going to be built anytime soon, but sometime eventually. I don't know. Yeah, app looks good. Appreciate that. And that might be it. Are there any other, what else should we talk about? What are we at now? Like 50, almost an hour. So yeah, this is good. I think we'll probably wrap that here. Yeah, I'll never schedule one of these again because obviously I can't keep up with I can't stay to my schedule. So I'll probably just more drop these when I go live type thing. Which monetization methods and sites do you advise? Well, the monetization method, there's like 2 main ones really. It's ads in terms of like having an app. The 2 main ones are ads and then in-app purchases. So I would advise doing both. And I would advise more on the end of I mean, it depends on your type of app, but I would devise more on the end of the in-app purchases. You'll probably make more money that way. Which I do plan to make videos over covering that, like making in-app purchases with Flutter. Sites that I would recommend are, I don't know. I don't know any good. I mean, really, I get most of my information from like Reddit or Twitter, and then those link off to other things, which is kind of interesting if you think about it now. Like, the small website is no longer much of a thing. Like, think about how many websites you go on and how many aren't, how many of them aren't one of these major players like Facebook, Twitter, Reddit. So yeah, maybe we'll get a site soon, a one-man startup site soon. That'll get us, that will get us all in one good spot of good information. But cool. That I'm going to end it now on that note. So I'll catch you guys in the next one.